here today, and I was lamenting earlier that clearly people from Alliance really know how to take instructions, because we were told to come dressed in African glamour, and we showed up, even though some of us don't really know what African glamour is. But let me say thank you to Mogo. Mogo was my school captain, and we had quite some lovely times together as leaders in the school, but also a great 6 years in the school, really in what we'd call our formative years. Now, you know, we were told that we have 8 minutes to pack perhaps 6 years plus of experiences and try and make it as interesting as possible, which is a pretty tough order. But Catherine has, I must say, done a wonderful job of putting this event together, and we really do need to give her that particular round of applause. I'm sitting right next to her husband, and you know how we tend to turn around and say, okay, so class of? And he goes, he's very humorous. He says, class of Catherine. Right. Okay, so I thought that I'd focus on, obviously, what is clearly the formative years of my life here. And to say that I remember the day that I reported, we went very early with my dad, my folks. And once we landed, settled in, some Form 2 comes in, called your guardian. It sounds very interesting. And you're handed over to somebody who's going to show you your dorm and so on. We were sitting at that parade ground. And the boy next to me happened to be Andrew Thiani. Now, I don't know how many guys of 87 are here. Is Kamau Mungai here? I saw him. I think he was here. Anyway, he was my deskmate. There he is, right at the back. Well, if you remember, Andrew Thiani in that year was actually the best student in the country. So it resonates when you say that, you're meeting people who are really bright and so on. And it was quite a surprise in Form 1. After you've been so used to topping your class throughout primary school, you look at your report form at the end and you're saying, okay, now how do I tell my dad about this, right? Because you'd never seen double digits, right? But, well, you take it as it comes. I remember somebody mentioned the tightest, a great tradition. What you don't remember, perhaps, are some of the trick questions that were put in there, right? Like, so how many green blackboards are there in the school, right? And you'll see people answering 12, right? You see, Alliance had no blackboards. It had green boards, right? They were all green. But people still call them green blackboards, right? Was to come back in 5th form, You felt like you were stigmatized for life if you did not make it back into Form 5. Now, for those actually, and this was interesting, you would meet the few people who actually said, I'm not coming back to Alliance in high school. I've chosen to go to some other school. And we respected their decision. But for those of you who wanted to then continue, it was imperative that you obviously passed your 4th form. So significant focus on exams. And when you then do your first paper at the end of the year, you realize, actually, they're not setting these exams for people at Alliance. They're setting them for everybody in the country. Because you're wondering why you finished in 1 hour for a 2-hour paper. But do I say? But Form 4 was also the year that you also got your first serious position of leadership, and obviously that was to be the dorm prefect. Form 5, important. If there was something that was interesting to see, it was what was called lifting. I don't know whether the girls had lifting, right? When you're now trying to see whether you can become a senior prefect. I remember that if you had any signs of leadership, you were then entrusted with certain responsibilities. I remember Mogo and I being given the responsibility to go and pick the school film in Nairobi, right? And we took the opportunity to watch another movie as well. But then on to Form 6. Obviously, again, very serious. You need to get into university. But then really serious responsibilities about leadership. And I must say we had it was very interesting how much Form 6s were looked up at.